and they think they're smarter than they actually are. In general, we are all much smarter than
sort of radically inaccurate analogy.
I've made so many foolish mistakes, I have lost count, honestly.
So you and I had a short debate on artificial intelligence last night. I want to bring that topic up here too. I also understand, Elon, recently you said that artificial intelligence advances is like summoning the demon. That generated a lot of hot debate. Baidu's chief scientist Andrew Ng recently said during an interview that worrying about the dark side of artificial intelligence is like worrying about overpopulation on Mars. How would you address that? He said it's a distraction to with the scientists in artificial intelligence.
I think that's a sort of radically inaccurate analogy. I know a bit about Mars. So the risks with sort of digital superintelligence, and it's important to appreciate that it wouldn't be just human level, it would be superhuman almost immediately. It would just zip right past humans to be way beyond anything we could really imagine. I think a more appropriate analogy would be like if you consider, say, nuclear research with the potential for a very dangerous weapon, releasing the energy is easy. Containing that energy safely is very difficult. And so I think the right emphasis for AI research is on AI safety. We should put vastly more effort into AI safety than we should put into advancing AI in the first place, because it may be good or it may be bad, and it could be catastrophically bad. It could be the equivalent of nuclear meltdown. So you really want to emphasize safety. So I'm not against the advancement of AI. I want to really be clear about this, but I do think we should be extremely careful. And if that means it takes a bit longer to develop AI, then I think that's the right trade-off. We shouldn't be rushing headlong into something that we don't understand.
If you were to go back in time and talk to your 20-year-old self, would you do anything differently?
Go back in time to your 20-year-old self.
I mean, I think I think it would make far fewer mistakes, obviously, if I could go, like, here's a list of all the dumb things you're about to do, please do not do them.
Wouldn't we all?
It'd be a very long list, and like, here, let me write it down or something, I mean, hindsight's 20/20, so it's hard to say. I mean, I've made so many foolish mistakes, I have lost count, honestly. I mean, some of these things I just wish like that's some full sort of mantra, management by rhyming. I mean, it worked for Homer, okay? But management by rhyming is that thing I was saying, like, if the schedule is long, the design is wrong. We've overcomplicated the design many times, and I think we should have just gone with a simpler design, with the acid test being, how long will it take for this to fly? And if it's going to take a long time, don't do it. Do something else. If you look at, say, Falcon 9, it's got an aluminum lithium tank, but then the unpressurized structures are carbon fiber composite. And really, one of the worst possible things you could do to a joint is take something with a high coefficient of thermal expansion, high CTE, take it from room temperature to cryo, and then connect it to something that has zero CTE, basically zero, like carbon fiber. So now you've got a real pain in the ass joint, basically.
Right.
So in order for that to work, you've got to, the tank's got to shrink radially, and you've got these super expensive, heavy bolts that are like a beam and bending across, that are then taking load into the interstage, and they desperately want to shear off or snap off. This is crazy. Really you should just have a continuous metal structure. That's obvious. That should be done. That'd be way better. Things expand to fully available resources. So then, like sometimes you should say no to things that you don't. Like the original Falcon 1 team, which did the fairing, tanks, engines, everything pretty much, was maybe a little over 100 people. Okay. Now SpaceX is like 6,000 people, I think, something like that. So really just simplify your product as much as possible. And then like if I think of some of the ways in which, how does a smart engineer make dumb mistakes, including, is optimize something that shouldn't exist. Don't optimize something that shouldn't exist. But people are trained to do this in college. You can't say no to the professor. The professor's going to give you the exam, and you've got to answer all the questions, or they'll get angry. And give you a bad grade. So then you always optimize you always answer the question. A lot of the times you should say this is the wrong question.
Right.
In fact, the question is definitely wrong to some degree, just how wrong. And I think just generally taking the approach that your design is some degree wrong, probably a lot more than you think. Your goal is to make it less wrong over time.
Your time allocation, I think one of the things you spend an awful lot of time thinking about, I know, is artificial intelligence. It's something that you and I have as a shared interest, and it's something that our audience is interested in as well. The question here is a lot of experts in AI don't share the same level of concern that you do about the dangers of AI.
Fools.
What
Famous last words.
What specifically do you believe that they don't?
Well, the biggest issue I see with so-called AI experts is that they think they know more than they do. And they think they're smarter than they actually are. In general, we are all much smarter than we think we are, but much less smart, dumber than we think we are, by a lot. So this tends to plague smart people. They just can't. They define themselves by their intelligence, and they don't like the idea that a machine could be way smarter than them. So they discount the idea, which is fundamentally flawed. That's the wishful thinking situation. I'm really quite close to. I'm very close to the cutting edge in AI, and it scares the hell out of me. It's capable of vastly more than almost anyone knows. And the rate of improvement is exponential. You can see this in things like AlphaGo, which went from, in the span of maybe 6 to 9 months, it went from being unable to beat even a reasonably good Go player to then beating the European world champion, who was ranked 600, then beating Lee Sedol 4-5, who had been world champion for many years, then beating the current world champion, then beating everyone while playing simultaneously. Then there was AlphaZero, which crushed AlphaGo 100-0. And AlphaZero just learned by playing itself, and it can play basically any game that you put the rules in for. Whatever rules you give it, it literally read the rules, play the game, and be superhuman for any game. Nobody expected that rate of improvement. If you ask those same experts who think AI is not progressing at the rate that I'm saying, I think you will find that their predictions for things like Go and other AI advancements their batting average is quite weak. It's not good. We'll see this also with self-driving. I think probably by end of next year, self-driving will encompass essentially all modes of driving.